back, everybody, to the California Small Farm Conference. We're excited to have you for today's workshop. We're going to be digging into Asian specialty crops for our markets. Really excited to have some wonderful panelists from all over the country who have joined us here today to share their experiences and expertise. So, thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder that today's workshop is being recorded. We'll upload it on to CAFF's YouTube channel if you want to check it out later. And if you out there in the audience are interested in sharing insights or resources of your own, feel free to use the chat feature down in the bottom of your screen. You can also ask questions using the Q&A feature also there at the bottom of your screen. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to my good colleague, Johnny. You want to take it away? Thanks for being here.
All right. Thank you, Evan. And then also thank you to the speakers that are here on this panel for making it today, let's kind of just jump straight into it, right? I guess we could do the introductions first. Your name, position, which organization are you from? And then talk a little bit about your work. If you want, I could go in first. Hi everybody. I'm Johnny Moua, and I am in Community Alliance with Family Farmers in the Farm to Market program with as a coordinator in the San Joaquin Valley. A little bit about my work is I work in F3, so it's a grant that is implemented in California. It stands for 3S, so farm, food, and future. And with this whole entire grant, one of my job is to help a local food hub in the Central Valley here be relaunching. And so we have here Keng Vang, or also known as Lee Sing from Fresno BIPOC Produce. Um, Go ahead, Keng. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Keng. My other name is Lee Sang. I am the founder and owner of Fresno BIPOC Produce, a food hub based in Fresno. I work with a little over, um, I used to say 200, but I think I will say 100 to 150 to make it more fair. But most of the farmers that I work with are Southeast Asian farmers. But I work with all BIPOC farmers, Latino, Latinx farmers, Black farmers around the Central Valley, a little bit south of the Central Valley, going up north to the Sacramento, Merced, Stockton, Sacramento, Oroville area, and then towards the west coast to the Central Coast, helping the Latinx organic farmers sell their fruits and vegetables. But I always tell people that I wear multiple hats. I help farmers with trying to access resources. I provide free technical assistance to farmers when it comes to applying for grants, helping farmers with food safety education, food safety plans, a lot of stuff. But yeah, thank you for joining us today, and I hope you guys enjoy our conference or our part of the conference. Thank you.
I can go. So my name is Addison Vang. I work for the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension and its Community Food System program. I've been with Extension for about 4 years, um, and I've been kind of, working with Hmong farmers in some shape or form throughout the entire time. It's kind of changed a little bit. Right now, over the last year, I've been focusing more on food entrepreneurship. So that's much broader than just among farmers. But that's an aspect that we're definitely working with our farmers here Um, and yeah, I guess, m much like what you said, King, you do this work, but we kind of do everything else. Like I focus on kind of more like that business or economic development piece, but then, a lot of times I'm kind of, helping them apply, like look for grants and, looking at like more farm practice. So yeah, we kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. Doing whatever we can to really support, our farmers, trying to understand exactly what their needs are. And it's definitely always kind of changing and always kind of learning. And so we're kind of like doing that together. Um, oh yeah. And so also in within my position, I also work statewide. So I do work across the entire state, connecting with among farmers, among businesses. Um, yeah, just trying to support their businesses and kind of grow, be basically grow to kind of for me personally to really be play a much larger role in the community food system in which I feel that they've kind of been left out, you know, over like the 30, 40 years they've been here, where they kind of I felt like really started out with like this idea of like farm to fork, and they've kind of just been left out, and it's kind of time to kind of support them and get them more integrated and be a bigger part of our food system.
Alrighty. Thank you, Addison. Hello, everyone. My name is Chiang Rai, Lord. Just want to first say thank you, Johnny, and CAFF in its entirety for inviting me as a panelist today. Looking forward to our discussion today, and thank you all the attendees for joining us and listening to us today. But yeah, I am based in Janesville, Wisconsin. I work for a nonprofit org called FairShare CSA Coalition. We're based in Madison, Wisconsin. My main role has kind of shifted a little bit, but overall, I guess in short, I support a lot of Hmong growers. So my main program is focused on Hmong growers. Yeah, I support them through just like other one-on-one technical assistance and mainly market access. This my whole program started off from due to COVID. I think when COVID happened, a lot of farmers market throughout Wisconsin closed down. This caused a lot of this affected a lot of Hmong growers' income and support for their own families. And so we try to create a program that would kind of address this need, so that if there's any climate disruptions or market disruptions that ever happen again, Hmong growers will be able to access other markets besides farmers market. And so I think we try to touch more on CSA, which is community supported agriculture. However, I think during that time frame, I definitely found out that the growers, the home growers in Wisconsin, are just not quite ready yet for CSA model. And so I shifted my work and I went back to training, just wholesale readiness training on food safety, post-harvest handling, packaging. And so just hoping that, maybe the wholesale market might be the best choice for them. And so right now, that's kind of the majority of my work. We currently are um, applying. Well, we're already kicking off our RFSI project up in the air. I know with all the grant freezes around that's going on, that's still in the air. But then we're fingers crossing that it's going through so that we can continue this work. But we're currently building infrastructure for BIPOC growers and to use and have those kind of like supporting them. So we're kind of building a food hub, hoping to kind of expand that in the future and set kind of the foundation for a larger terminal market. However, that's the big goal. But right now we're starting out small with a food hub and kind of building those cold storage, added value processing infrastructure in place, packed sheds, you name it. And so transportation will be also included. And so hoping to kind of procure produce from kind of BIPOC growers throughout Wisconsin, really, and then bring them into the Dane County in Wisconsin, Waukesha County, and Jefferson County in Wisconsin. And so that's kind of like the future works that I'm moving in. But yeah, I'm starting to expand my support to other BIPOC communities rather than just kind of strictly sticking to the Hmong community. So hoping that everything just goes smoothly. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you for the introduction. I forgot to mention, is there any Hmong farmer or any farmer that is speaking a different language on here? This is to try to compensate to for instance, if you are a Hmong farmer on here, it's we're gonna try to compensate with like speaking Hmong also on here on this platform. Yes, let us know in the chat. G, would you recommend us speaking in Hmong, or did you want us to continue in English? English, okay. Fam, I see that you said you're Mien. Sorry, we don't speak Mien, but are you okay with English? Okay, all right. If nothing else, let's jump into the question. So, uh, okay. Thank you, Sanjana. Sorry if I mispronounce. Bố môi tu tín nên hai lù mong nhớ sổ khó bây cơ khăn đó nó. Bố môi tu nên hai lù mong à. Giờ nên nên sao cả bé hai lù mong sĩ做到咪cả tế hậu khó chán nó. Okay. Chị Linh đã sư chị bé hai lù mi cả sư đó. Giờ chúng ta từ tế chị bé hai lù mi cả sư nè. Okay, thank you everyone. Sorry for a little delay. So we'll jump straight into the questions that I have prepared for our speakers or panelists. So this question, so this panel was created by sorry, a little history. This panel was created a little by uh, Michelle Wilder. She is in CAFF, and she inspired me to reach out to Chiang Rai, and then also my talk with Addison, and then working with the Sing, the whole entire group. Just like I'm just like, oh, okay, we need to provide a space for this whole entire um, get together. This is actually our first time getting together in on this profile, and then so and here we are. And so other speakers are not able to make it, but I like to include them into our talks also. So this question is actually from Kazua Berry from Berry River Farm in Minnesota. Um, she asked, one thing that farmers always approach us about is to buy from them or to help them sell their produce. Unfortunately, our food system is not set up to support these farmers' viability to make them sustainable living. But I do think that there is a need to teach farmers to find markets first, then grow those markets. Many farmers do the opposite, where they grow a bunch of food, then they don't have markets for those food. Have you run into some of these issues? If so, how can we fix this situation?
Yeah, so most definitely. I feel like the one of the main issues that I've experienced with is just the scale of these growers. So if we were to say, for them to get into a certain market, example like wholesale, some of these growers just don't have the capacity to pretty much compete with the larger scale farmers. And so sometimes they would reach out to wholesalers and say, "Hey, we have XYZ produce. Would you buy from us?" And so the wholesalers, the buyers would often say, like we have a huge grower already providing those produce for us. And so why would we want to, purchase produce from you when we could just get a bulk order from the grower B? And so this kind of pushes them back and then complicates things as, they just can't find a wholesale market without some of these programs that are kind of there to kind of support BIPOC growers. Um, and so there's definitely a lot of other barriers as well. I feel like one other thing that I could definitely see is just the communities, they just aren't familiar with Asian specialty crops or what it is or how to cook it. And so this kind of complicates the market even further as there's just really no market for it other than its own community. And so I've definitely gone to like other, converse with other BIPOC leaders, and they're definitely aware of these Asian specialty crops, and they've used them as well. And so the big question that always comes to me is, we have eaters, we have growers. Why can't we connect the two and, create a market for it instead of depending on other wholesale markets or other type of markets that already has a foundation, a platform for this crops, and so, but then that does always, kind of bring the big question here of, okay, who's gonna start it? Or what kind of format's gonna be? Is it gonna be a food hub? Is it gonna be a market, or is it gonna be like a farmers market that's specializes in BIPOC growers? And so we don't know how that looks like, but I think the big question for me is to ask ourselves if we can build a market for these specialty crops, Asian specialty crops. And if so, how would we do that? Since I know that a lot of like systems out there, it's built by white farmers for white farmers. And so how do we kind of break off from that? If we BIPOC growers are selling like a certain produce for a higher price that wholesalers might not want to purchase that price for, how do we find a market for ourselves and to support our own communities? And so there's a lot of questions and barriers around the growers themselves, the whole system itself, the market themselves. And so just trying to find out best in today's market, it's complicated. It's definitely it would take a lot of energy and work and dedication. But I feel like if we continue this work and we, continue to have passion for it, I know it will happen. I know it will happen. Um, I feel like I'm talking too long, so I'll let the other panelists give a little of their own take on this. But yeah.
Yeah, so I actually would love to hear King just because of the space you're in. But so me and Chiang Rai both work in Wisconsin, and we do a lot of collaborating and working together to support Hmong farmers. And it's kind of like the chicken or egg. Like where do we start when we don't like there's so many issues and they're just like issues upon issues, and so where do you start? So there's like a lot of training on just every market that we try to introduce because they're just so new, and a lot of them have been, at least here, they've been a part of the farmers market for so long. It's very ingrained in um you know a lot of our Hmong growers here. And so trying to get them out, trying to introduce these new ideas that is very, very, I guess like not quite, definitely not like a idea that a lot of Hmong folks under fully understand. So trying to introduce these more American Western, often like white led markets it is a challenge, and where we're trying to figure that out. But then again, it's like, do you introduce the market or do you introduce wholesale? Where do you start? I think that's kind of what is very hard, and that's so I feel like we're all kind of trying to figure that out. In this work, I feel like we are still very new at this, trying to figure that out and building like these relationships and building trust with Hmong farmers. Um, so I feel like we are getting somewhere. However, we don't quite have like a something like a BIPOC led um you know organization, kind of like what Keng has. So I that doesn't really answer anything because I feel like you know we're still figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, another thought, sorry to jump in again. I think that another barrier is, if whether growers are own their land or whether they rent their land. And so this kind of sets them back because if they're trying to get into the wholesale market and they're trying to build these infrastructure on their land to get into this wholesale market, but if their landowner says no, you can't, then they just can't, and it's just hard for them to get a well installed, irrigation system installed, pack shed installed, high tunnels, if anything. A lot of these infrastructure that kind of really supports them to start to kind of build into that sustainable farming business. It's all blacked out. And so going back, how do we support them to get into wholesale markets if their landowner just simply says no? And so providing infrastructure in other ways, such as the program that I've spoke earlier, kind of supports them in that sense. But for those that aren't near the local area, they're definitely going through these difficulties, and especially with a lot of these BIPOC growers, they have that language barrier, and so you know. Just not understanding the land lease, like having a lease agreement with the landowner beforehand, and to kind of provide that a little buffer and like support that, hey, if we build this infrastructure to support our market, then that's okay. But a lot of these agreements, when these growers they rent land, it's all handshake, all word of mouth, all handshake, and then once things happen, that anything that the landowner doesn't want, he could just come and say, hey, we did not agree on that, or there's no land lease to kind of refer back to. You can't build that. I don't want that on here. You're out. And so, and a lot of growers don't understand that, if landowners were to kick you out, they have they're supposed to give a 90-day notice before they can kick you out. And so, not even understanding like your own your own self-protection laws and whatnot to kind of protect you in those case scenario too, and not being aware of any of those, it's kind of brings them all the way back down to like, we can't find a market. We have all of these barriers that we have to get through first before we can even consider getting to a wholesale market. And so the direct market, farmers market, has been the most accessible to them because um, there's just not a lot of restrictions that they have to deal with. And so, but then I know that through farmers market, it's not a sustainable market either. Because there's a lot of times where growers are worn out, burnt out. There's a lot of times where they can't they don't even sell all of the produce. They have to bring back leftovers, or they just kind of donate the leftover to pantries, and then they lose profit. And so they keep going through that cycle, and there's really no sustainable business happening, or any clarity on like their profit margins at all. And that's another thing too, like understanding record keeping, where implementing all of these together to really help them understand the business and where they need to fix it. Whether it's they're using too much seed on when planting, their soil is it's bad and they need more soil health. So a lot of things are kind of headbutting, I would say, headbutting one another, and it causes them to just be further back. And then for them, a lot of growers are asking themselves, is it worth it? Is it worth it to go all through all of these obstacles to get into a wholesale market, and then the price doesn't even match what I want per pound or per unit? And so how does that make sense for them to take that much effort in and only getting like just throwing it out there, $1 a pound or something, And so there's a lot of like barriers, as I mentioned before, it just doesn't work well with like BIPOC growers. And this, I know that this is not just the Hmong community itself; it's all BIPOC growers, and that's dealing with some shape of barrier. And it's definitely very hard to navigate a lot of these when, again, like I feel like a lot of these support systems and programs that's being built, they're for white farmers by white farmers, or by whatever community that supports white farmers. And so a good example would be a program that we had earlier. We had numerous growers that have don't have the infrastructure in place, and don't have like a good pavement of road to kind of get to their land to drop off and have for the distributor to do pickups. And so their trucks would be way too big, and they will kind of like argue with the growers that, hey, you need to increase the width of the road that gets to your land, or you need to trim these trees off, or you need to like do XYZ so that you help us get to your place more efficiently. And so a lot of these, it's just like, if you're working with BIPOC growers, that a lot of them don't have a lot of these infrastructure in place, nor do they have the funds to kind of get that in place. And so providing, I mean, a solution for that would be just use a smaller truck to get into those tight spots and really build your program around supporting BIPOC growers, instead of setting a standard and then they have to meet your standard. And so I think a lot of even programs out there, I feel like I mean, for those of us that work in like supporting all of these work, and being advocates for this passion and whatnot and work and whatnot, I feel like there's definitely something wrong with the programs too itself, and that they should definitely consider more of like supporting BIPOC growers, building the programs around BIPOC growers, and going from there. But I feel like I may have gone a little too further out from the actual question, but yeah, I feel like the market for Asian specialty crop is just very hard. It's just very hard to really conclude and find an actual market for it. I know that there is definitely other orgs out there that has found their market for certain Asian specialty crops, but not all of them. And so yeah, these are kind of like my experience with Asian specialty crops and the market currently today. Um, but I'll stop talking for now.
I I'll add some more stuff to the question. I So about the question, I do believe that agree with the person who asked the question that farmers should really find or research a market uh, that's really that they're really into, and that something that they can really grow, that they won't have any like challenges growing, because in Fresno there's a lot of, I think Fresno probably has the most Hmong and Southeast Asian farmers throughout the country, um, and a lot of those Asian specialty crops that they grow, they kind of like grow the same Asian specialty crops. So there's um, a lot of competition in like who to sell it to, and if the same. And there's also a lot of wholesalers in Fresno that take in Asian specialty crops, but all these farmers are growing for the same distributors. And then some of them do like farmers markets, and farmers markets in California are to me they're really good. They're amazing, and um, I know that farmers who go to SoCal and to the East Bay, or the Bay Area, that's where the money is, right? So farmers are always like um, welcome to, like, they're always like trying to get into these farmers markets, because they know that if they get into these farmers markets, they make good income. Um, but when you get into these markets, there's a bunch of other Asian farmers who basically grow the same thing too. So what I always tell the farmer is, you guys have to, like, you already know who the farmers around you are, and who you're competing against, right? But you need to grow them differently, or grow something else uh, that that people can compete against you. You guys might go the same thing, but if you focus more on, like, for example, a lot of the Southeast Asian farmers here grow eggplants, um, herbs, Asian herbs, um, Asian squash. But I keep telling them that you have to focus on certain things, items that people can't, like, compete against you, you know. So that way you guys don't always compete against each other too, because I keep telling farmers that I'm always here to help you guys. The food hub is always here to help you guys, and but I like, I can't guarantee, like, the food hub itself can't guarantee that we can take all your produce if you guys can't sell it. um like, you guys can't be dependent on the food hub. You guys have to be independent, and the food hub is here to help you guys. Certain, not all the time, but we can help the best way we can, because like, the food hub itself, like, I can't really uh demand my buyers to, hey, you guys buy this. It's always up to the buyers. There's only a couple of time, or a certain time, when, like, hey, um, the food hub, I reach out to the buyers, and I'll be like, hey, this farmer is struggling. They have this amount of produce that needs to be moved. We can't find any buyers. Can you help us like this one time? And there's some buyers who are very supportive, and they will actually buy all of it. But it doesn't work like that all the time. I mean, I wish it was that easy, right? If it was that easy, I think I could, make sure that all our BIPOC farmers here will become wealthy. But uh, it doesn't work like that, because we have to work really hard too. Especially for me, I have to promote like Asian specialty crops like so hard that like it's like it makes me sad sometimes because there sometimes there's buyers who don't understand that, oh hey, this type of produce is beneficial. Like one of my buyers, one of the institutions that I'm trying to promote Asian specialty crops into more is schools, right? And I'm trying to target these school districts that have a lot of Asian community or Asian students who the school districts can use those Asian specialty crops into their meals. Um, but it's always up to the school district to make the final call. The nutritional director, to see if they have the capacity to. And so, I hope that in the future, I can find a way to help farmers, uh, find better ways of like trying to grow things for certain markets. Um, there's and right now I have a program myself, which is the LFPA, or Farmers Together, where uh, we make mixed produce boxes, kind of like CSA boxes, but we make it for the food banks. And then luckily, the program has extended, so I've been telling farmers, hey, like, can you grow this for me? All right, and I promise you, I'm not gonna give you a contract, but I promise you that I will buy enough to like to pay you really well. And so like farmers are constantly calling me, hey, can I grow this for you? Or what should I grow for you? And then I told them, hey, you guys should grow this type of vegetable that no one grows. I could use it. Um, and then there's certain things that are super hard to sell. I know that there's a big market, but it's super hard. Is lemongrass. Lemongrass is a market that only like the Asian markets, the big Asian distributors are taking it. But the price goes up and down because like almost all the farmers I know here in Fresno grows lemongrass. Like there's some years where the price is really high, and no one has it. Right? That sucks. But uh, when like the year that the price goes up so high, all the farmers wants to grow it, and so everyone grows it. So like it kind of kills the market. So I keep telling farmers that you guys can't be doing that. You guys have to stick to your own market, to the produce that you guys are always like comfortable with, and just make your crop the top notch quality produce, and I guarantee you that you guys can sell it anywhere, and even I sell it because now all my buyers are asking for uh, for my farmers to have gap certificates, and it's getting gap certificates is so hard, especially for the BIPOC farmers because of all the requirements, the price of the cost of getting the audit and the certificate itself, uh, understanding like how to get there, trying to comply with all the regulations. Um, it's hard. But working with the food hub like myself, where I'm trying to be like the food hub is trying to be like the middle person or the middle uh, the gap between like the farmers and the buyers, where we provide the food safety aspect of it, so that way the farmer doesn't have to worry about it. And the cool thing working with me is I I pick up the produce from the farmers, so that way they don't have to worry about another uh, truck or the buyer trying to get to them, or um, them getting to the buyer. Because I'm there, so that way that the farmers don't have to waste their time doing that. They can focus solely on what they do best, farming. Stay at the farm, do what you do best. Make sure that uh, your produce um, is like top quality, uh, and make sure that you get the order done. Especially like if you can't get the order done, please let me know ahead of time so that way I can find somewhere else to complete the order. That's what I was saying. But yeah, I just wish that in the future, like we can find more ways to help farmers, especially the the Asian farmers, grow their business by trying new things, not being afraid of innovation. So
Yeah, thank you, Keng, Chiang Rai, and Addison. Do you have anything to add with this question more, or?
Yeah, I could do it really quick. So,
Mhm.
like I was saying before, that chicken or an egg, and we've been trying to do like a lot of, you've heard a lot of, education. And I guess my question is like, do we educate our Hmong farmers, or do we educate like these agencies, these organizations, to understand how to work with Hmong farmers, and I guess I would say like BIPOC farmers in general, so that I guess that's kind of where I'm at, so they understand the needs are, some of the barriers, because I feel like often they think like, oh, like these Hmong farmers, they're farming the same as all these other farmers, and it's easy enough to just throw out like these are our standards and this is how we operate, when that's not really the case. Of trying to just make sure everyone knows what's going on. So I feel like educating Hmong farmers, but also like, all right, we got to educate the food hub. We got to educate like the restaurants, the grocery stores. So it's like, how do we do this work? Where we can actually really make a impact. That's it.
All right, thank you, Addison. All right, so the next question would be, what would you consider to be the biggest challenge facing the food industry today?
for Asian specialty crops, though, right? Or
Correct.
in general.
Yeah.
I would have to say again. I mentioned certification, food safety certification, GAP certification. I spoke with the auditor who so I just started a group GAP um, in Fresno, or in the county of Fresno, with like 15 farmers, and part of my group there are three, four Hmong farmers, and three Lao farmer, and then the rest are Hispanic farmers. And I asked the auditor, hey, like, have you ever like audited a like Southeast Asian or a Hmong farm before? And she said, no, this is actually my first time. And I was like, oh shoot, man, like we are so behind, right? Like we need to like we need to help our farmers. We really need to help our like Southeast Asian farmers uh get on top of this stuff. And so I'm really glad that I'm part of the group that's doing that for my people and for the BIPOC farmers that I'm starting the group gap with. Um, but I but then again, if we talk about challenges, I wouldn't say that any challenge is greater than the other. I feel like all of them are so like challenging in their own way. Because we can talk about resources all the time. Um, we can talk about infrastructure. Farmers don't have infrastructure, no equipment. Um, there's there's not a lot of representation and um, and like agencies or organizations out there that are into farming, uh, and I think there's a lack of that. And so I know that there's outreach. There's a lot of outreach, uh, but I don't feel like there's enough outreach to go to get to all the farmers. And so there's way too many challenges that we need to address. But my most challenging thing again is the gaps, the certificates.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I think I do agree with you. Keng, as you mentioned, I feel like one barrier is not greater than the other, but I would say for me, I'm thinking it will most likely be land access. I feel like for the growers that I've worked with, I feel like land access has been kind of like the core problem. That they can't build these infrastructure, they can't start to kind of get the next step because the landowner said no. And so, and for those that do own their land, they can definitely we have supported them getting high tunnels, building these infrastructure, and kind of moving them along, getting some of these infrastructure in place while doing wholesale training and whatnot to kind of get into these different markets. But for those that don't have land and own their land, it's just so hard. Kind of take like holding their hand and kind of supporting them to get them to that next step. So yeah, land access would be, in my view, the biggest barrier.
Yeah, so I would agree with everyone. I guess like in my space, how I view it, accessing markets, and it's been kind of touched on, but I feel like with a lot of these, among farmers and accessing markets is their built infrastructure. Without the infrastructure, it's just very hard for them to, be able to compete against, folks that have, access to electricity, access to water, access to refrigeration, because at least here in Wisconsin, a lot of these Hmong farmers, they're just looking for a piece of land and they would just buy a piece of land. So like a farmer might carve out like a little piece of land and Hmong farmers will just buy it. No electricity, no well, no nothing, and they make it work. So they'll bring water, and water with like by like filling up like a bunch of like milk milk bottles, right? So they make it work, but then because they're out in this piece of empty land, there's no electricity. So it's like so I feel like there's a lot of infrastructural stuff that is missing, and how do you kind of support them in being able to start to compete against some of these um you know farms that do have a lot of these amenities, these luxuries, you know. Yeah, because I guess I've always thought about it like, you know, um, often people think like your farm is like this like romantic, idyllic homestead, but a lot of Hmong farms is not. It's a place where you go, you work your butt off, you're under the sun, there's like it's not a fun place to go and grow up. You're working. And there's just nothing there. And there is just a lot of challenges. So how can we kind of support them in kind of, you know, um, building up their infrastructure?
All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's we have so we're gonna save the last 15 minutes for Q&A. So we have 9 minutes left. So I'll present this last question. How do you see the industry evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, and what trends do you think will turn out and evolve?
I guess I can start. Honestly, I really don't know. Because here in Wisconsin, I feel like it's gonna be a lot of newer, younger Hmong farmers. And when I say younger, it's still like probably like 40, 50 years old, right? While these more established Hmong farmers transition out. And so what that means is, there's gonna be less Hmong farmers. Farmers markets are gonna have probably less varieties of vegetables. So I feel like people are really gonna see it, when it comes to like local produce, what is gonna be available. I am hopeful that, we will kind of get some of these Hmong farmers to be able to actually compete against some of these established farms. But it 5 to 10 years, that's a long time. I feel like we've done 4 years since I've been here, and we only started to try to figure out like, okay, these are the real challenges. But even then, it's like, okay, these challenges have challenges within themselves. So what do we do? So I'm optimistic that we're gonna have younger farmers come in and take over and want to be farmers. I just don't know exactly what they look like, but I sense that they're there, and we have to kind of just reach out and support them, as well as supporting our existing farmers.
Um, I would say that for the past 4 years that I've started, I've seen that every year, um, there's more and more buyers and organizations, people in general. There's more people supporting the idea of buying from BIPOC farmers or minority farmers, and buying local. And it's been growing. So hopefully, like in the next 5 to 10 years, it keeps growing, and that's what we hope for. But I honestly, I can't tell too, because 5 to 10 years is pretty, it's a pretty long time. And then like the majority of the farmers, especially the Asian community, Asian farmers that I work with, they're the age for the farmers, they're pretty old. So I think 5 to 10 years, I think we will see less of them, especially here in the Central Valley. And I don't honestly, I don't know if younger farmers or the children of the Asian farmers are still going to continue farming, because it's farming and the Asian community, or especially in my culture, is a frown upon. So like, uh, I don't know if there is going to be a lot of Southeast Asian farmers in the future, but I hope that there are. I do see that there are a few young folks who are interested in farming now, but that's only a few, and I hope that it grows, because honestly, people can make a lot of money in farming, if you grow the right stuff, you find the right market, and if you just keep adapting to the whatever is changing. You have to change with the change, in order to grow your business. And I hope that the young farmers now, can do that, so that way they can show other people, other young people who are interested in farming, to come into farming. And I hope that my business can grow too, so that way farmers can tell their children, hey, like, if Keng can do it, you guys can do it too. You guys should do what Keng does, or even even do better than Keng. So I hope that in the future, it's all going to work out and or be a better place for our farmers.
Yeah, I think Addison and King definitely said kind of where my thoughts are too. I feel like with so nowadays I kind of split. There's like two groups of farmers that I'm working with. One is traditional farmers, which is very hard to adapt to some of these changes and whatnot, and it's just kind of slower pace to kind of get them up to speed. And then there are those that are entrepreneurial growers who are don't have the language barrier, can really learn and adapt into these market changes, learn like the in and outs, and really like build their foundation for their farming business. And yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I feel like 5 to 10 years from now, I mean, it's definitely a lot to chew on. But I feel like a lot of the traditional growers, as King has mentioned before, they're in above 60, easily above 60. 5 to 10 years from now, they're going to be out of the scene. And it's just unfortunate that they can't lay a foundation for their children to kind of continue the business. And so a lot of entrepreneur or children of today's traditional farmers, they don't see that there's like I guess a career in agriculture because their parents have done it and it's not sustainable, it's not really taking in them anywhere. And so it's really up to these entrepreneur growers that are starting to kind of pop up and say, hey, when oh, we realize that there is money to be made and there's a career in agriculture and we like to tap into it. And so 5 to 10 years from now, I'm hoping that these entrepreneur growers can really start to build their foundation and really like pivot the farming business to that next level, whether it's simply entering an wholesale market or simply building more infrastructure, um, really just taking their business to the next step. And beyond that, I'm hoping that the younger generation kind of going up can really see that, hey, there is a career in agriculture, there is a career in farming. We can really build a sustainable farming business, and from then on forth, I feel like things will start to gradually change. But yeah, same with you two. But yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
So I have one more thing to add. It'll be really quick. Is I guess like I've been thinking about while everyone's talking, and one of the things that I really try to do when I do like workshops is introducing resources. So I'm hoping in 5 to 10 years that these Hmong farmers, whether they're Hmong or BIPOC farmers, know who the USDA is, know who, CAFF, NRCS, Farmers Service Agency, like that they know who these agencies are, including extension and across like the entire state or like in the US, that there are these resources and you have to tap into them because that's something that I've seen is that they just don't know where to go. And there are resources and they are here to help.
All right. Thank you for that.
Well,
So,
Johnny, right before you get, I wanted to add one more thing. I just thought about it, and I wanted to point it out because we're talking about 5 to 10 years from now. I feel like farming is going to get harder. Because I feel like every year there's always like new regulations coming in, especially now with like if if you're handling or if you want to get into organic farming. Organic farming is getting even harder and harder because even for food hubs like myself, if we do we handle any organic produce, we have to go through like their organic training, and I just feel like they're making it so hard for the small farmers to farm these days, where uh, and organic farming is it's a growing practice now, and it's really cool to farm organically. But I keep telling people that conventional farming is so hard to read, like, right? If we're trying to get these conventional farmers to go into organic farming, like, why make organic farming so much more harder for farmers? Like, because conventional farming is so hard already, right? Can't we just make it easier for organic farming, so that way we can pull more conventional farmers into organic farming? um and and that's one thing I hope in the future too, like to to hopefully um teach farmers, or change some of the conventional farmers that I work with, especially the Southeast Asian farmers, to go into organic farming, because the organic market is growing so much, and in the future it's only going to grow. So I feel like it's farming is so hard, is going to be so hard because of that. But I hope we can tackle it together, all of us, with all the resources out there. So uh, I'm I I'm hopeful, but I know it's going to be challenging.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your answers. And so now, let's jump into the Q&A. I know that Chiang Rai and Addison have been answering these questions, but let's run through it with also Keng too, and so the audience could know what we're talking about too. So Muriel Strand said, "Do all these small Asian farmers grow organic or conventional? Do they understand that aspect?" And then Chiang Rai answered, "Majority of the Asian farmers that I grow with grow conventional, but yes, they understand the concept of organic practices and whether or not they want to pursue being certified organic." And then Addison replied also, "There are some farmers who are organic, but their issues are becoming certified due to language barriers, testing in English and such." Kang, do you have an answer for this?
Yeah, all the Southeast Asian farmers that I work with are they're conventional. Um, there are a few that have reached out and said that they're interested in going to organic farming, but uh, I feel like it's still very challenging. Like I said, it's very challenging to get into organic farming because um, just all the regulations and the steps to become organic. Uh, I feel like farmers are going to lose out on like a lot of income in that transition. So right now I don't think right now a lot of the Southeast Asian farmers, they're not ready to transition yet, because Chiang Mai mentioned it earlier that land access is very challenging, and in the Central Valley it's super challenging too. So um so I don't see that in the short term, or the years to come yet, like 5 years from now. I don't see it coming yet until we can find ways to solve land access um, everywhere for small farmers. So um, I don't yeah I hope that we can you know find some solutions to help farmers. And I do know that there's organizations like KTA, Kitchen Table Advisors, um, who are out there finding resources and assistance to farmers who are interested in becoming organic farmers, toward transition to organic farming. But I in the meantime, I don't think it's it's not something that we will see soon yet.
Yeah, just want to add a little bit on top of what King said earlier. With within the land access piece. So, if growers are, renting the land and, it's already hard to find like land access. And if they're planning to transition to organic, they have to completely wait 3 years. Completely just leave the land and wait 3 years before they can even start organic practices. And so 3 years, pushing them back 3 years, they like as Kay mentioned earlier, it's just gonna set them back. And again, if land access is already hard to um, get they just won't find another piece of land to just kind of continue, or whether that's conventional or organic. And even if they find land, they have to make sure that that piece is organic to start off from and has been untouched for several years before planning to start organic. Or if they know that there's chemicals and one that has been used, again, they will have to wait another 3 years. And so it's there's a lot of drawbacks around that, but yeah, just a little add on to what King said earlier.
And I also want to add again some more a few more points that there are some uh farmers, Southeast Asian farmers that I work with who are organic like, but uh be, because they're not organic certified, you can't call them organic. So I have to say that they're conventional because like they don't have the certificate, and so they have to be classified as conventional. But we do have organic like farmers out there. It's just they can't they just can't be certified. You know, one because they're on a year-to-year lease. They can't get a 5 year long-term lease, um, and two, they don't. There is a resources out there, but they don't know about these resources. And so um, it's hard to it's hard to help them transition to organic farming because of those issues, and there's a lot of more issues up there. So that's all.
Thank you. And then let's jump to the next question. Anonymous attendee, what percentage of farmers in your community do you think lease or own? And then
So
Yeah, I can. So like where I'm at, I think it's closer to like, well, it's not quite 90, but I feel like it is more like 70%. But however, I have found that it's not a perfect like this farmer is leasing or own because often they will lease, but then they might have another location that they're, you know, is wait, did I say own? So they might own some land, but then they might also be leasing. So it's not quite perfect, with kind of just asking like who's actually leasing or owning. But I would say like the majority are always kind of like, across at least Wisconsin, do lease.
And I would say with the farmers that I work with, I would say like around like 15 to 20% of them own, and the rest are leasing. And then probably half of the people who are leasing are like on a year-to-year lease, and then the other half, well, you can say that they're like 3 years to 5 years. Some people are lucky, they get like 7 years, 10 years, but those are if they're lucky. And they're very fortunate to have that type of lease. But uh, for those who are doing year by year, like 1 year if they're on that land for 1 year, the next year they could be kicked out, and then so they will have to like move all their stuff all the time. Uh, so So yeah, I hope that in the future, we will have more farmers buying land. But if you're looking at all the prices in California for land, oh my God, it's skyrocketing right now. So like I don't even see it happening soon too. So it's that's going to be so hard for the farmers.
Yeah, I would say the lease at part is probably one of the biggest barriers to a lot of these Hmong farmers in Wisconsin. I would say the majority, probably closer. I want to say like it's probably like over 90% seem to just have a handshake agreement. So there's this fear of like, what do I do? How do I convince the owner to, you know, agree to a lease? And I've I'm not sure how to kind of deal with that because a lot of the issue I feel like is just more the farmers just not wanting to be on a lease. Um, because of that. They feel it's more of that trust. Like we've been working together. I don't want to ruin that relationship by bringing up a lease because if I bring up a lease, then they might not want me to farm anymore. However, I try to tell them that they're, like a lot of these owners, they probably are very familiar with contracts, especially if they're like a farmer where they're doing leases like they have contracts and they're used to that and not to be so worried. And then there are organizations that are more than willing to kind of help them with, trying to develop and create a lease that is beneficial for both of you. Um, so that is something that's kind of coming up more and more, and that is something that we do stress, in a lot of the workshops that I've been a part of.
Um, and I know we have a couple questions more. Do you think we could spearhead maybe like two or three in this sense? So Carmen Mendoza asked, can you please address promotion of Southeast Asian specialty crop?
Uh, honestly, I want to answer that question, but I think I shouldn't answer that question because uh, that was part of my old organization's uh, my old organization's job. So I left during that time to start the food hub. So I don't think I should answer that question, Carmen. So I'm sorry. I wish I can, but I shouldn't.
So I guess I have some thoughts on this, and this might be more of a Midwest um thing compared to like in California, but I feel like a lot of our Southeast Asian like culturally relevant type crops um not to just stick within the Asian community, but look outside, look into the African communities, into um the Latinx community, because I feel like there are a lot of produce that we are all kind of eating. However, we have different names, how we cook it might be slightly different, but I'm finding too that a lot of the food that we're making, even though we are from completely different backgrounds, actually are very like similar, you know. So I feel like thinking outside of the box and not just within your communities. Um, but how do you do that too? And I think that's one of the issues. Like, okay, I'm Asian, I'm Hmong. How do I tap and get into like this African community, when I'm not a part of them? And so I feel like there are ways to do it, but even within like thinking like, yeah, I I guess like I haven't really thought too much about it and how do you actually do it, but I feel like there is something there where it's like, you know, trying to identify and understand like what are the needs of other communities too that maybe you can kind of fill. You just don't know because you don't talk to them.
Yeah. Thank you, Keng and Addison, for
Well,
your.
John, for about that question though, I can add. I won't talk about the question itself, but I would say that like right now, I'm on a CDFA farming school grant, so I'm working with I'm going to work with a chef, a local chef here in Fresno, uh, to build some recipes, and so hopefully we can promote those Asian specialty crops to school districts. And right now, the food hub itself, we're working with I would say like 10 school districts around the state of California already. So and there's a lot more school districts who are interested in working with the food hub. So hopefully we're able to build recipes to promote Asian specialty crops, especially to school districts who don't have any Asian who don't have a lot of Asian students, but then who are interested, who might be interested in the produce that we have. So no, just in case if you're um in another state or yeah, another state who are thinking about promoting Asian specialty crops, so you guys could try to promote it in school districts by getting recipes with creating recipes with chefs who are well known. So it's a way to promote Asian specialty crops. So we are going to give it a shot, and hopefully we become successful in reaching out to the schools. And there's schools who are interested already. So um, it's it's a blessing, and we're very hopeful.
Mhm. All right. Thanks, Keng. Thank you everyone for attending this workshop. I know we kind of went 3 minutes over. I want to respect everybody else's time too. Thank you for joining this special talk about Asian specialty crop and how it's in our market, and just trying to create that space for this. It looks like Evan has something for us at the end. Go ahead, Evan, take it away.
Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you to our panelists. We hope to see you guys at the next workshop. Have a great afternoon, everybody.